Hi, everybody. I'm Justin McElroy. I'm the editor-at-large for Polygon.com. This is Griffin McElroy. He also works at Polygon.com and is my brother. That's
a disclaimer for ethics.
That's not a material to this conversation. We're joined by Sara Jansson. She is the senior producer on Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Sara, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So I want to tell you a story, personal aside. First gaming event I ever covered was GDC 2008. And the first thing I ever went to was an EA press briefing that was in like the basement of this restaurant. I remember there were little Kobe beef sliders. That's the one thing I remember. The other thing I remember is watching the first demo for Mirror's Edge. And I have not seen anything like it since. The entire room was just sort of buzzing. Like, it's so different, so fresh, so vibrant. How in a sequel and a follow-up do you recapture that sense of freshness and wonder?
First of all, I think that we still have something very unique in the first-person parkour-inspired movement in the game. Also, what we're doing to make it feel even fresher, I think you probably heard it. There was even an article on Polygon on it that we're removing guns completely from the game, so giving it a completely fresh feel in the way that you combine your movement and momentum with hand-to-hand martial arts-inspired combat. That gives it a very fresh feel as well. And also, I mean, we have a completely new engine. We have a very nice rendering technology, making the city just feel more vibrant, more alive, even more beautiful. But you'll also get to experience some of the more, grittier, darker parts that exist underneath the city. So we're trying to really make sure that we add more diversity in environment and more diversity in the sense of a living, breathing city.
Obviously, I think the announcement that Faith wouldn't be using any guns and just relying on the parkour in Mirror's Edge Catalyst has been pretty much universally well received. People are really, really happy to hear it. Why, I guess, were guns included in the original Mirror's Edge? What was the design thought process for the original?
I was not really involved in the development of the first game. So I can actually not talk to that. I would assume that it's a very natural in games, when it comes to, okay, I have enemies, I need to take them down. DICE is a very, first-person shooter-focused studio. It was probably a very natural decision. I'm just speculating because I was actually not a part of that process, but it was probably very natural to just, okay, we are really good at guns, so if we're gonna fight, let's use guns.
How does removing guns from the equation entirely affect the difficulty of the game? Because like you said, it's a natural thought process. I have enemies, I'm going to shoot them, and that'll be how I get by them. How does removing that option affect the difficulty in the design?
Yeah, I think that the combat experience now is going to be a lot more different from other games. So in that aspect, it's going to be probably a bit tricky for people to understand it at first. But what we're doing is to make sure that we really ease the player into it. So we're not going to throw combat very early in the game at our players. We're actually going to introduce it. We're going to, try to wait until probably a while into the game to actually even introduce it to combat. So you can be really comfortable with the movement and the free running before we even throw any combat at you at all. So really trying to make sure that if you know the movement system, if you understand the concept of momentum and how you use that combined with your moves, you will also then, it will be easier to understand how you use the same type of momentum and your skill moves in combination with attacks to take enemy out as you move forward.
Mirror's Edge, a follow-up to Mirror's Edge became one of the, it was such a frequently demanded thing that it almost became sort of an in-joke. And also Mirror's Edge 2. And also they're definitely going to announce that because everybody wanted it for so long. Was it hard to sort of keep quiet on that when it was in development, but that news wasn't made public?
For sure. I mean, we did actually tease, I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago at E3,
Sure.
We had a big tease showing a teaser trailer, and we had a little behind-the-scenes video last year as well. So we have been very quiet, but we're trying to keep our fans, at least knowing that we're working on it, and that if you just wait a little bit more, you will get more information. But of course, it's been really hard to not say more. I mean, for me, it was such a big moment on Tuesday when we had the first group coming in on our BCD and then getting hands-on on our demo, just seeing the fans and people play the game for the first time. We've been, working on it for pretty long, and just seeing that was huge. I was super nervous. I was afraid that, what if they don't like the direction? But, the response we've been getting is that people are super positive. They really like the direction we're taking with, removing the gun combat, giving you more options of free roaming and exploration, and telling the great origin story of Faith. So I'm super happy, and today is just a breeze because everyone's super positive.
I actually can't think of any other example of when removing a feature has made people really excited.
But we're adding quite a lot of combat features
to
the game as well. It's actually adding a lot of variety in how you play the game. So we're removing one thing, but we're adding something else. And this is something that is more unique. It fits a lot better with the core gameplay. So I think it's really something that people are going to like.
How much of the core parkour mechanics going to change? Because I thought that was my favorite memories of Mirror's Edge are playing those speed run trials and trying to beat my friends' times, and just how finely tuned. There weren't a ton of mechanics, but they were also finely tuned, and you had to use them all perfectly to perfect your line. Is tweaking that, is changing that really finely tuned traversal mechanic difficult?
Well, yes and no. We've done quite a lot of tuning to it. Making it even more fluid has been one of our goals, and also making it more accessible to new players while still keeping the skill moment, the skill aspect of it for our hardcore players. So we've been working quite a lot to make sure that you can make that jump even if you don't time it perfectly. But if you time it perfectly, you will keep a lot more momentum and a lot more fluidity. So you will do it faster and it would feel smoother. So there's different ways of playing it, but you can't. The key thing is we want you to be able to play through it even if you're not super hardcore. But if you are super hardcore, you can play it a lot better, and there will be a lot more options open to you. And we also worked a lot to make it more free, because we are building a city, not a bunch of very linear levels where you go from A to B. And that has changed quite a lot of the how we need to use movement, because you need to be able to traverse an area from any direction. So an example of this could be that in the first game you could springboard from certain objects, but in Mirror's Edge Catalyst you can springboard from any object of a certain height. So that just gives us a lot more option in how we design the world to support the multi-directional traversal.
One of the things I liked about the first Mirror's Edge was that it was not a one person saving the world story. It was a lot more personal. She was just trying to, at the first, save her sister and help her sister. Obviously, it evolved a little bit, but I'm curious, in Mirror's Edge Catalyst, are the stakes raised? Does Faith have a bigger role to play in the broader story, or is it still more personal?
And to her, it is personal, but she will also, by making it personal, will play a larger role in the city, and she will affect the city a lot more. So she will start out as we wanted to make sure that she has proper character development in this game. So she doesn't start out the same person as she is when it ends. So it's not we didn't want to create a very flat character. So she will start out as a young carefree runner who doesn't really care about the conflict in the city. She cares about her runner cabal and her friends, and that's what she is passionate about. But the course of the events that happens in the story will actually make her start caring a little bit more and realize that she needs to take a stand. She needs to take a stand in the ongoing conflict in the city. And I'm not going to spoil the story for you, but she's just going to, there's going to be some pretty horrible events actually in the game where she just realizes that, okay, I gotta take a stand. I gotta do something about this. And she will get sick of the being hunted, and she will, start fighting back.
One last question. I feel like this, more than any other E3, has been sort of the E3 where VR is becoming a thing that basically every major game publisher is talking about. Have you thought at all about how Mirror's Edge could potentially translate over to virtual reality, or would it just be a puke fest from start to finish?
We have thought about it. We've been experimenting a little bit with it as well, but we have, decided to focus on, making a really great game experience, and then, we never know what happens in the future. But right now, we're focused on making Mirror's Edge Catalyst, just the best experience for our players.
Cool. Well, Sara Jansson, from the senior producer on Mirror's Edge Catalyst, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Great, and thank you to you at home for watching. We've got a lot more stuff on Polygon.com, so go watch all of that, and we'll make some more videos in the interim. So talk to you soon.